Ever since his debut in 2004 with the dizzyingly original time travel drama Primer, Shane Carruth has remained an enigmatic figure. He didn't often give interviews, he didn't seem to share much information about himself or his past, and he was always extremely secretive about his projects, to the point that when he was between films, buried in work, and seemingly secluded from the outside world, he would all but appear to vanish off the face of the earth for years at a time, only to suddenly spring up again with something unexpected, like Upstream Color in 2013. As more time has passed, more information about those massive gaps between films was revealed. The script for what was supposed to be his massively ambitious follow-up to Primer, A Topiary, leaked. Bits and pieces turned up about how he struggled for year after year to raise funding for this incredible and very personal sci-fi opus. Ultimately, after almost a decade of work and basically nothing to show for it, he had to abandon A Topiary and move on to other ideas. Following the extraordinary Upstream Color, produced quickly on a shoestring budget, rumors began to surface that his next film would be another epic, titled The Modern Ocean. What little became known of this film at the time was that it followed an ensemble of characters in the world of international shipping routes. It was said to be a love story, a nautical adventure, and a large-scale action film all rolled into one. Year after year passed. A cast was said to be assembling: Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Jeff Goldblum, Keanu Reeves. Next thing you knew, these plans dissipated. Carruth started appearing in a few acting roles, dropping hints here and there that Modern Ocean was still a long way off. Then, only a month or two ago, the floodgates seemed to open. Carruth became attached as executive producer to a very impressive-looking independent fantasy film called The Wanting Mare, from writer-director Nicholas Ash Bateman. Bateman apparently shot most of this film inside a storage unit, then spent 5 years meticulously crafting his special effects to build an elaborate world and bring it to life. Carruth was so blown away by the achievement that he wanted to step on board to help get the film seen by a wider audience. This resulted in Carruth doing an uncharacteristic abundance of interviews in 2020, and naturally, interviewers were curious to find out what he had been up to in the time since Upstream Color. Carruth didn't pull any punches. He let loose on Hollywood and the film industry, basically calling the whole thing bullshit, and announced that by the time he turned 50 in the next 3 years, he would be permanently finished with filmmaking. Not long afterwards, he started sharing material from his unrealized projects on his Upstream Color Twitter page. He posted the conceptual trailer for A Topiary, featuring his test footage for the CGI effects he was planning to construct, as well as concept art for the story's esoteric alien technology. Then he posted the full script and concept trailer for The Modern Ocean, as well as music tracks he had composed to prepare the score. This would seem to indicate that this film, like A Topiary, has been abandoned. It's somewhat of a shock to see all of this popping up. Carruth has been such a fascinating mystery for so long, and now we're finally getting more of a glimpse into his world. It's just unfortunate that that world has turned so dark. Carruth, I think it's fair to say, is angry. He's angry that he's had to abandon 2 intensely personal projects. He's angry to have been manipulated by the industry. He's angry to have gone this far in life without having achieved what he set out to achieve. Honestly, that would make anyone angry. So what's next for him? In keeping with his habits, he's staying tight-lipped on his future plans. Mostly. At first, he was implying that there's one more big project he'd like to make, before saying au revoir to film. More recently, his plans seem to have evolved into making several films, all at once, then retiring. Carruth turned 48 this year, so it looks like he only has another 2 years to realize these plans, whatever they are. Post-retirement, he's implied that he's going to work on large-scale art installments and attempt to mentor new filmmaking talent. He's even said he wouldn't mind if another director felt like taking a crack at his unproduced scripts, giving some hope that they may find their way on screen one of these days. I've been thinking a lot about Carruth these last few months, poring over that concept art for A Topiary, imagining what a wondrous film it might have been, if only. I'm planning on reading through the script for The Modern Ocean soon, too. From the sounds of it, it's another superb work filled with a heartbreaking amount of potential. I might even do a video on it. Some of the first videos I ever posted were on a topiary, and I've tried to follow Carruth's career closely ever since. Seeing him so embittered and letting go of the art form through which he spent so long endeavoring to find expression is very sad. Like many of his fans who were eagerly awaiting the next film, it's tough to see him like this, suddenly in the spotlight again after so long, only to announce his departure, this time for good. I've read many comments encouraging Carruth to forge ahead, to resurrect a topiary or Modern Ocean, and take them to streaming giants like Netflix. Surely he can find a home for them there. This is similar to when I first posted those videos on a topiary. At that time, crowdfunding was the big thing, and everyone was suggesting that he use those methods to finance the film. Lately, I've been seeing a few people even suggest he turn it into a video game. Then, as now, I get the feeling most people don't understand how the film industry really works. I'm not trying to be insulting, I'm just trying to share what I've picked up over the years. Whether it's the studio system, or crowdfunding, or streaming companies, there are advantages, there are disadvantages, and there are tremendous challenges. There's no such thing as a magic wand that, once waved, will make all your dreams a reality, convincing anybody, whether they be executives, independent financiers, or even fans, to give you millions of dollars to tell your stories is a very, very difficult thing to do. If you're going through studios, you have to deal with marketing. You have to sacrifice some autonomy for larger resources. You have to deal with the bureaucracy of that system. If you're crowdfunding, you have to deal with potentially thousands of individual investors, organize all that funding and all those sources of funding, and do it without the kind of solid infrastructure that you would be granted with a studio production company. Even streaming isn't the fairy godmother it's often made out to be. Sure, companies like Netflix and Amazon and now Apple TV and soon I'm sure others have opened up new opportunities for funding and distribution that weren't even conceivable only a few years ago. It's resulted in huge, very risky, and sometimes quite brilliant films like Alfonso Cuarón's Roma and Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. But still, streaming businesses are just that, businesses. They make their decisions according to what is good for business. So while directors like Cuarón and Scorsese find homes for these masterpieces, which, don't get me wrong, is great, there's the inevitable downside of other, equally gifted directors being left out, for arbitrary reasons. Geniuses like David Cronenberg and Paul Schrader have repeatedly tried to set up new projects with the streaming giants, and both have repeatedly been turned down. I don't know how many avenues Carruth has ventured down in his attempts to make his films. I don't know if he really stands a better chance with streaming than he did with studios, but regardless, I don't think any of these discussions really matter at this point. He's already done all he's willing to do, and he's arrived at this decision, I'm sure, after a lot of soul-searching and a lot of emotional turmoil. I'm pretty sure I've said this before in other videos, but I'll say it again. It's tempting to ask those questions, to postulate those theories and scenarios. Perhaps Carruth was a little too avant-garde, a little too uncompromising in his eccentric vision. Maybe if he'd been more willing to compromise, he could have gotten these films made. Maybe if he'd been willing to do some directing for hire, he could have built up more clout, more experience to make them happen. Maybe if he hadn't been so ambitious so quickly, he could have worked his way up to them. We can theorize all day. What matters is this: Carruth made his choices. They may have been right or wrong. They may have been based in arrogance or naivete. Maybe he's a victim, maybe he's just one of the unlucky ones who never find their niche in the industry, who don't discover a way to navigate the failures and the pitfalls to shape a place for themselves on the cinema stage. Whatever it is, he tried. He did it on his own terms, and he's decided to pursue something else. As difficult as that is to accept, I think it's a part of life. Things don't often go our way, and we can only ever control a limited number of the circumstances surrounding us. Life hits us with unexpected surprises all the time. What defines who we are as people, as artists, are the ways we react to those surprises and the choices we make in their wake. Understanding art, understanding artists, I believe, is a matter of understanding those choices. Carruth was hit with plenty of unexpected surprises. He was determined to stay true to his integrity, to tell his stories his way, and after nearly 20 years, he only managed to push that vision through twice. Even that is an admirable achievement. I respect Carruth for trying so hard for so long, for attempting to do something that was entirely his own, in an industry that doesn't tend to have much sympathy for that kind of thing. He fought, he struggled, he succeeded, he failed. And now this, retirement, is the decision he's made. This is his next choice, as much an artistic choice as any made in one of his films. As a member of his audience, it may not be the choice I want him to make, but all I can do is respect that choice and attempt to understand it. I wish Carruth luck with his future plans. I hope to see at least one more movie from him before his retirement occurs, and I sincerely hope that he's able to discover whatever it is he's looking to discover in his life. If he does, I hope he can find a way to share it with us all, and I hope it brings him peace.